Hey everybody, it's CSEC Panda, and today we're going to be looking at summary writing, part of a series that I'm wanting to do where I solve the summary writing from the more recent years since they changed the exam format to the current one, which was in 2018. I wanted to do as many of the papers from 2018 come forward as I possibly could, but the catch is I'm not really doing them like the whole paper in one. I wanted to do the summary writing from each first, and then maybe go back and do, each section, so it would be a series like that. I chose to do that because I know that summary writing is the one that gives a lot of people the most problems, and I thought that this might be most helpful to you. So I'm going to be showing you what I did here. We all know that this paper starts off with section A, summary writing, and they want you to try and do this in about 40 minutes as their suggestion. The first thing that I would suggest you do is read the instructions and box them off kind of like I've done here. You're pretty much going to know the drill when you get in there, but just so that you can stay on top of things, you just quickly box off the important parts of this. That will help you to stay on track, okay? So, in case you don't know, I hope you've been reading this in the meantime. They want you to read the following article, list the 5 main points for 5 marks, and then to write a summary of the article in one paragraph of not more than 120 words. They want you to try and use your own words as much as you can, and they're going to be judging you based on how you identify the main ideas, organize and express those ideas in your words, and use appropriate grammar and sentence structure. So we've read the instructions now, and the next thing we want to do is start assessing the article they've given us. Usually there is a title, but I see this time there is no title, but you'd be reading the title, and you'd be reading then where this actually came from. In this case, this is from a magazine by the Barbados Customs and Excise Department, so that just gives you a little scope real quick on what you're about to do. Now the first thing I would recommend is that you take a deep breath, calm down, and just read this without trying to mark on it like you see I've done here. You just read through it. Okay? You could pause now and read if you want to. Alright. Now, the first time you read this through, chances are it's going to make very little sense, because most of these things are just kind of full of fluff, and they're kind of jumbled up in the ideas. That's kind of what you're here to do, to pull out the important parts and say it short, alright? That's the idea of a summary. So in order to pull out these ideas, and there are a couple different ones that you could focus in on here, so it's really going to be a case of what jumps out to you. But for me, I underlined like destruction, war, bombings, the threat of terrorism, because I thought that those were the high impact words and what they were saying here. And so those things sounded like those were all crimes to me, right? But not like shoplifting or anything like that. It sounded like major crime. So down in this note-taking box here, I had major crime is rising globally, and governments in the region have to work together to fight it. Because I thought that that was kind of the main idea that came out here, and I wanted to start in on it. This wasn't even me going officially to write the main ideas, but I thought the more I kind of planned it from now, the better it would be. So I did the same thing going through, the threat of terrorism, okay, individual governments. They're thinking very seriously about the physical and financial security, growing awareness, need for cooperation. So once you've done this boxing and underlining as you go through, and really I just went through and did it kind of fast, and then I kind of stood back after and looked at, okay, these things are jumping out now. So if you just look at the second paragraph, and you see this fight against transnational crime, drug trafficking, money laundering, arms smuggling, cooperation, multinational approach, smugglers, move drugs, air and seaports, border security. And so when you're telling yourself these things and looking at it that way, certain ideas would begin to jump out to you, right? So what I did was I kind of just threw down very neatly, as you can see, any of the ideas that I had. And I was beginning to put it over into my own words. So I'm saying that they're trying to combat clever criminals across borders. And so I was just putting ideas together in this little area here, just getting my own brain working. So like this word thoroughfare, it kind of came to my mind at some point, and I was like, okay, this is the big word that I'm going to put in here for vocabulary. So I tried to do that. So after I'd spent about maybe 15 minutes planning that or so, I began to list the actual thing, the 5 main points. So reading this back after, it doesn't sound as good as when I was writing it, how I thought it was, but at least these are points that work, right? Major crimes are on the rise globally and regionally, requiring governmental partnership to fight it. Right, 1 mark. To combat clever criminals, countries must collaborate on securing their borders. CARICOM's unrestricted border entry policies make it an easy target for illegal use. That sounds kind of funny, but if I had been in the checking over stage, I probably would have changed up some of those words and made it sound a little bit better, but okay. They say a well-trained customs department is the key to intercepting and preventing nefarious activity. And further upgrades can create a more robust customs force in other areas as well, I'm missing a comma though, including revenue collection. So those were 5 points that were at least factual that I took out of this, and I thought that that wasn't too bad when I considered, where we started. I definitely could have pulled out more about, let's say, CARICOM and a tourism link, for example, if I was taken in a different direction, or I could have talked more about the actual crime being bad, or I could have talked more about this revenue collection thing if I wanted to, but these were 5 points that I thought were factual, and most importantly, they were points that, because I understood them, I felt like I could have built it into a decent summary. So I came down here to write this summary on this page. I said, a glance at today's world shows that major crimes are on the rise globally and so too regionally. This situation requires government partnership to combat the clever criminals who make an illegal thoroughfare of national borders. However, increasing border security in the region poses challenges. CARICOM has unrestricted border entry policies, which make its ports an easy target for illegal cross-border activities. Due to this, a well-equipped customs department is essential to intercepting and preventing this nefarious activity. Additionally, policy upgrades can improve customs revenue collection, which is also critical. Through rigorous law enforcement strategies, governments can outwit criminals and protect their citizens. That was about 105 words, and it took me 45 minutes because you see I had some scratching out and confusion. I kind of changed some of the ideas a few times, but it wasn't too bad. I think the flow of that was okay. I managed to use the connecting words, however, and additionally, and so on. And ultimately, it was pretty good. It sounded smooth enough. I think I would have gotten most of the marks here for that, because as they say, judging you on how you pull the ideas out, how you connect them together, and using appropriate grammar and sentence structure. What I would have done is, once I wrote this, I'd have come back after, in whatever time was left in the exam, and kind of, put in some more, like punctuation, tighten that up, maybe include some different words, or maybe extend out the 105 words that I had here to be more like maybe 110, put in a more warm concluding sentence or so. But truly, I believe that this was fine, and that is how I answer this, right? I don't think there's too much more to say about this one, so I hope that this has given you an idea of kind of how I approach this one. And if you have any questions, would you leave them down below? And I'll see you next time, okay? All right.